Hey guys, what's up? It's MrCrayfish and welcome back to my modding tutorials. In this tutorial today, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to add a special render to the tile entity so we can actually see how many cookies are inside the jar visually. Because right now it's just being stored in code and we can't actually see that. We want to be able to actually see it in the game. So it is very simple what we're going to do straight away. Now before we start, I want to remind you guys that I do have a Patreon, so if you guys want to support this series and keep it going, make sure you head over to there, and if you pledge at least $1 or more, you'll get access to the source code of these modding tutorials, and that's useful if you do happen to run into any problems. Well, let's go ahead, let's get into this today. So the first thing that we're going to do is go over to our tile entity package over here. We're going to create a sub package inside of it, so just click new package. And then at the end here, we're going to do .render. Inside of that render package, we're going to create a new class called renderer jar. And then we need to make this extends tile entity special renderer. I added here. Special renderer, import that, and then we also need to give it an argument, a type argument here. So do these triangle brackets and then pop in tile entity jar, import that. Then we need to override a method here, so control space, and then we need to do, what is it, render tile entity at, put that onto a new line. So this is where we're going to do our rendering now. Does that call anything? What does that do? Should I? I'll see what that does. I might keep it in there. I don't know exactly what it does, but let's just leave it there for now. So we need to render an item in there. So we need to create an instance of an entity item. So this is going to be basically a dummy. It's not like a real one. So we're going to do private static final entity item, and then I'm going to call this item equals new entity item, and then we're going to select the third constructor. For the world in here, we're going to pop in Minecraft.getMinecraft.the world. For the x, y, and z coordinates, we're just going to do 0, 0, and 0. Then for the stack here, we're going to do mod new item stack, and then mod items.cracker. So this is basically a dummy thing. It's not actually spawned in the world or anything like that. Now, renderers are done on client side, so we can actually use this here. This Minecraft.getMinecraft.the world is only available on client side, so it's alright to use it here. Now, we're simply going to do this, so Minecraft.getMinecraft.getRender item, maybe? Render item. Actually, nope, not that one. Get render manager dot render entity static. Let's go do render entity. So we're going to pass in our item here. Then for the x and y and z positions, we're going to pass in these here. So x, y, and z. It looks like it's already done it. For the yaw, we're going to put in 0f because that's basically just, don't worry about that, to be honest. And then for this last one, what does that mean? Okay. And then here we're just going to do false. This basically prevents it if you go into the if you show up the bounding boxes. If we put false here, it's going to make sure that when that comes up, it's not actually going to show it. Now, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen right now. Actually, we need to bind the renderer here to the tile entity. So we just need to go into our client proxy class here. Inside of the initialization method here, we're going to do client registry dot bind tile entity special renderer. So we need to specify the class, so it's tile entity jar.class, and the renderer is a new renderer jar. Then import that. And then if we go ahead and we run the game now, let's see what happens. And as you can see, it's rendering a random cracker in the air there. Now, we're going to fix this up, obviously. This is just the initial oh, did that move? Why is it moving? Why is it? Okay, I think I know what the problem is. We'll fix that up in a second here. So what we need to do is under there, we're going to do item dot start hover start, and then we're going to make that equal 0.00f. So that is going to probably fix up that jittering there. I think it will. Let's double check. Why is it doing weird stuff? Okay. For this partial ticks here, we're going to put 0. So for that partial ticks there, change that to 0f. I think that's what was causing it. Alright, there we go. We fixed up the problem now. It's no longer shaking. So it was just a matter of changing that partial ticks there to 0f instead. But let's go ahead, and what we need to do now is we want to render this cracker here inside of the jar, and we also want to be able to render the amount that we've got in there as well. So we're going to have to make a couple of changes here. So let's go back into the code. We're going to stop our game now. Now, we're not actually going to pass in X, Y, and Z here. What we're actually going to do is change them to 0. We're instead going to do use basically OpenGL. Now, this is where it can get confusing, and hopefully you guys can follow along pretty well, but this is pretty much the basics that we're going to do. So we're going to do GL State Manager, which is Minecraft's class that has like a bunch of GL functions in it, and you should use it instead of directly calling. We're going to do push matrix, then we're going to do a bracket, and then at the bottom of them we're going to do GL State Manager dot pop matrix. I'm going to copy that, put that inside. We're going to do a thing called GL State Manager dot translate, and then this is where we put in our X, Y, and Z instead. So do that, and then after that, what we're going to do is we actually need to rotate the item. So GL State Manager dot rotate it, because right now it's kind of standing upwards. We want to rotate it to the side, so we need to rotate it 90 F, and then on which axis we need to do it on. So we're just going to change all these to 0. What axis we actually need to do it on is, I think, the X. So we put a 1 there and then leave a 0 for the rest of those axes. And then if we actually run the game now, as you can see now, the cookie or the cracker is now laying sideways. So what we need to do is actually translate this towards the jar there. So I'm going to assume, okay, so this is a positive X, so we're going to have to translate it along the X axis. So it's going to be pretty simple, and we also need to move it up a little bit. As you can see, it's in the ground right now, so that's going to be quite simple. So after we rotate it, what we need to do is again do another translate. So GL State Manager dot translate. Then we're going to move it along the X, probably about half a block. Then for these ones, we're just going to pop in 0 there. I'm going to assume, yeah, that should be right, half a block. And then we also need to translate it up a little bit as well. So I'm going to say maybe 0. We're going to do 0.1 there. Let's go ahead, reload the game. Now something we can do instead, maybe, let's do this now, click on this Debug Client instead of the play button. Click on this Debug Client, and what this will do is it will make it so we can actually edit this code in real time, so we don't have to reload the game every time. Now, please note that this does take a lot more power to actually do this, so you're going to need, like, the game's going to be laggier pretty much. But if you have like a non-strong computer, it's probably better just to run it each time. Load up a world. Okay, it seems like we may have stuffed this up somehow. And let's take a look what we actually did wrong here. It might actually... Ah, there. Hello. I think we translated it the wrong way. So let's fix that up now. So if we go ahead and we translate this up 5, what does that do? Okay. Alright, I think I know what's wrong, because we rotated it here, the axis has gone super weird. So we instead need to do it on the z-axis here, so 0.1. And it looks like we need to do it the opposite way around, so negative 0.1. And there we go, our cracker is now inside the jar there. Now what we're going to do is actually make this so it renders all the crackers in the jar that we put in. So we put 8 in, it's got to render those 8 crackers in the jar. So what we're going to do is wrap this render here inside of a for loop. So we're going to go for int I equals 0, I is less than 8, and I'm going to do I plus plus. What we're going to do is make that a bit better. We're going to do I is less than tile entity dot. Let's go back into jar here. Let's make this public. Terminate that. We're going to have to reload the game up. We're going to do te here dot cracker count. And then after each time we render an item, we simply just need to translate it up a little bit more. So we're specifically going to do here, put those first 2 as 0, and if you remember that 1 pixel is 0.625, we're going to pop that there. We're also going to make that negative as well. I'm going to go ahead, run the game now. Now I'm just trying to figure out where it's rendering them all at. So it's going to do a little check here. What we're going to do is system out the te.crackerCount. And it doesn't look like we didn't run that in debug mode. I thought we did. We're going to run that in debug mode. Okay, so I pretty much know right now that cracker count here is equal to 0. So the problem is that on the client side it's not being updated. So what we actually need to do is go to our tile entity jar here. Now we do need a couple of things inside of here. So under there we're going to do mark dirty. And basically what this means is make sure that it saves correctly because something has actually changed. Again, we're going to do mark dirty under that cracker count there. Now what I'm about to copy and paste in, I don't expect you to type out because I don't even type it out myself. And this is basically a couple of methods to update the tile entity. I think this makes it so it syncs it to the client side as well. So when we import here, make sure you select net.minecraft.packet. I think this might have a different get packet, get update packet. Alright, I think that's the new one. So let's change that around, pop that into there. That seems to be correct. So if we actually launch up the game now, I'm hoping that this will resolve some of the issues. Fingers crossed. So I figured out what was actually wrong, and we've actually got to refactor our code a little bit, and we've also got to add another method in as well. So we added these two methods here. I forgot to mention that there'll be a paste bin in the description below if you want to copy these in. But what we need to do is we're actually going to get rid of this here. Read this.read from MBT, and then we're also going to get rid of this here, write to MBT. And then instead what we're going to do is we're going to create two methods. One is going to be called public void write update tag, and then we're going to put in a parameter here nbt tag compound, and then tag for the name of it, and then we need another one called read update tag. Now under get update packet here, we're going to override a method called get update tag, and basically this is called when the server sends chunk data to the client. So we actually want to make sure the client tile entity has the updated information of crack account, because if we don't, it's not going to render correctly. So we need to make sure we update that when we actually load it. So we're going to do here nbt tag compound, and then call it tag equals super.get update tag, and then under that we're going to call write update tag, and then pass in our tag instance there. If you're not sure what nbt tag compound is, it's basically a how could I explain it? It's basically like a container for information. It's kind of like you write information to it, so you can do stuff like tag.setInteger blah blah blah, and then that's serialized so it can actually be sent over a network, and then it deserializes it, and then we can actually get an instance of nbt tag compound back, so we can do things like tag.get integer crack account. That's kind of a really bad explanation of it. Then here we're just going to return tag. In the write update tag here, we need to write our crack account. So we're going to do tag.write set integer cracker count, and then this dot crack account. Then inside of get update packet here, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're actually, instead of how we had before here, we had this dot read from MBT, we're just going to do this dot write update tag and put in our tag there. Oopsie, tag com. Let's change that to tag. Here on data packet, we're going to do read update tag, put in tag com. Let's change that again to tag, just be consistent. And then here in read tag, we're going to do this dot crack account equals tag dot get integer cracker count. And then we're actually going to refactor this even more. Instead of writing all this code again, we're going to do this dot write update tag, put in the compound instance there, and here we're going to do exactly the same. So there we go, we've sorted everything out. Now what we're going to do is up here we actually need to do one more thing. Under mark dirty on both of these methods here, we're going to call we're going to basically notify for a block update. So world object.notify block update position old state. We're just going to do world obg. Actually, we'll make this a little bit smaller. We'll do an iBlock state instance above here, so state equals world obg dot get block state, and then just pass in position there. That position variable comes from the tile entity class. Make sure we import this, And then here I was going to do state, and then for the flag, I think 3? I don't know. I think that's the right one to do. Then I was going to copy that, put that under this one here as well. Can we like get state? Is there like I thought there might be like a method inside of the tile entity class that might be able to let us do that. So there we go. What we're going to do now is run the game, and now as you can see we just loaded up the game there and it's already rendering it now. My game is lagging out a little bit. Oh, I know why. I had 2 OBS instances open, so I closed one of them. But yeah, as you can see it's rendering inside the jar now. If I right click the jar here with a cracker, it should add one in. Look at that, it's stacking up. I think that is, oh, there we go, that's the maximum amount we can get out of it. So there we go, it is filled up now. Now I actually want to fix up the render a little bit. It's not really like centered inside of the jar there, so we're going to simply just adjust the translate value. So let's go back into our code here, go to our render jar, and then we'll simply, I think it's this one here. So that's doing the Y axis basically, that's doing the X. So this is going to be assume we can move it on the Z. So I'm thinking maybe 0.1. Actually, when you restart the game, let's run it in debug mode as well. Looks like it's moved over a little too far. Let's change that, maybe half that. So 0.05. And that is looking, oh god, why is it so laggy? But yeah, that's looking a lot more centered in the jar there, which is good. So let's just test this out one more time. So when we actually place it down, has no crackers in it. When we right click, it adds the crackers to it, so it's maximum of 8. When we right click it without anything, we actually get the crackers out of it. That's pretty cool. We can do the same again. So that's pretty cool. I just said that twice. Now I did have one thing I did want to change real quickly, and I think it's better that we actually do this. So I did here and read from MBT and write MBT. We actually did this write update tag. It's actually better that we actually keep that back to normal, because what we should be doing, what we should be doing here is these methods here should only be for when we actually need to update values to the client. We don't need to update every entire value that we're storing. Now, we've only got one here, so it doesn't matter, but if you had like a bunch of values, maybe you're storing, I don't know, something else, you might not actually want to send that data to the client. So we're actually going to put this in here like that instead, and then keep these here only for values that you actually want to update to the client. Oh my god, always does that. And there we go, back to normal. So that's it for this tutorial today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you go and hit that like button. I want to remind you guys that I got a Patreon, and if you want to get access to the source code, head over there, pledge at least $1 or more. You don't have to donate $1, you can donate as much as you like if you want to. There are also some higher rewards as well, so if you donate more than $5, you'll get access to more of my furniture mod builds. You also get access to more model creator. Then if you're at $10, you'll actually be one of the first people to get access to the device mod, which is going to be awesome once it's released. But anyway, I will see you guys for the next tutorial, which I'm still deciding what it will be. Bye guys.